y'all, what's up? It's me, Brianka J, and I'm back. And thank you for coming back to my little corner of the internet where we talk all things books. And like I promised, I'm back to talk about Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride. And I wanted to talk about the overarching theme in this book, which is community, actually. Um, Before we get into it, if you haven't read this book, you can go check out my other video where I go over like an overview of the book. This one is for people that's already kind of read it and can get into the deeper details. So I don't want to spoil it for you. So if you haven't been there, haven't read it, you can check out the other video that's related to this one. If you have read it, let me know how you liked it in the comments. I really enjoyed it. I was especially thrilled by the theme of community that kept rolling out. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, when I was reading it initially, I was a little bit annoyed because I just felt like sorry, it seemed as if it was taking a long time to get to the point because he kept introducing all these characters. Like, it seemed like it was like so many characters before we got to like a plot and climax and a issue and a conflict. So that was hard for me, but it was also interesting because every character had its own story. Every character had its own personality and vibrancy and way that it weaved itself into this quilt of like a city. And I think it was really cool how McBride did that world building where when I say he took his time and really developed the plot, which you don't see a lot. You don't see that a lot anymore in novels. And so I really enjoyed how he took his time to just hit the right notes. It's actually something that I'm really focused on, like myself and my personal development. It's like learning to take my time and hit the right notes as I'm working through things. So it was great to see that happening. In addition to that, I enjoyed that every character he introduced all played a intricate part in the development of the novel. So you have like Shona and Moshe, who's like the major character, and you have Nate and Addie, who kind of play their foil in a way. And then you have like Fatty and Soap. You have Rusty. You have the Logarts, Paper, so many people, and you get to wondering who does what. Why am I introduced to all these people? And then when we realize, Dodo is captured by the police, taken into that government institution, and it's kind of being mistreated, and they know he's being mistreated. Even without evidence, they know that that's not a place for him, right? You watch as the entire community starts to work together. And they work together in such a way, it's like a puzzle piece. It's so good. It's so good. One thing that I have to point out before I get into the details, like everything I like and everything I dislike, can we talk about how Nate really made that so much more difficult? Because I feel like when the character Isaac, who's Moshe's friend or cousin, is telling Nate, like, hey, there are ways to get Dodo out of this institution. We can write letters. I know lawyers. I have resources. His distrust for white people is so strong within him that he can't decipher who is a friend and who is a foe. And it leads him to taking the hard way around to a solution. And I dare to ask any black people in the room, are we guilty of this behavior as well, where our distrust for white communities forces us to be a little bit fearful, a little bit paranoid to help, and it makes it really hard for us to decipher who is a friend and who is a foe. Like, I feel like that's something I could relate to. Like, it's hard to decipher, like, what are people's meaning, what is people's true intent. And that's me coming from the South, right? So I think it could be a Southern thing. It could be a thing from oppressed cultures. It's so many ways it could be thought about, but I thought that was a very interesting takeaway. But what we also see is how Jewish people communities and Black communities are working together, and how they work together to kind of improve their situation, even with the pipes, right? They have no water running on Chicken Hill, and nobody cares. Nobody is caring. And we see that the residents of Chicken Hill take it upon themselves, like, we're gonna get running water, even if the city isn't helping us, even if the city is giving us strife and hard times. We are going to ensure that we have working water in our community. When you have the government officials looking for Dodo, this little Black boy, to capture him and take him away, you see how the community works together. It's Nate and Addie's nephew, but it's Miss Shona who hides him in the Jewish home. And then when the whites come looking at Shona's house, he hides in Bernice's yard. And it's the pastor who tells the little guy that's running around looking for him. And everybody's working together intricately. It's all weaved, yet no one's talking one-on-one. And it's so interesting, because isn't that how it works out? Like, I'm working with you, but I didn't know you were working with them, but I know them too. But how did you know them? It's all like intertwined together. It's such a beautiful tapestry. I think that theme that he really dived into shows the power of community and what can happen when we all work together, how we can overcome obstacles, how we can overcome strife, how we can change our so being like, they are poor, right? But poverty isn't so much of an obstacle when your community is in unity with one another and they're working together. Like, I think that, like, now in 2023, we live in a very capitalistic society, and even most of us don't even know our neighbors. And I remember visiting Europe, and I was hanging out with my friend Marco, and he was telling me how he was so cool with his doorman that they had actually traveled to other countries together, like, as friends. And when I came home, I remember I made an effort to learn, to get to know my doorman, to get to know the people at the corner store, to get to know my mailman, to get to know my neighbors. Like, I made that my mission, because I started to realize how community and relationships can uplift your life. Like, because we live in a capitalistic society, we're always focused on how much it costs. But I feel like if we poured a little bit of effort into our relationships, our focus won't be as strong on how much does it cost. Because when you have strong relationships, you often aren't always footing the same bills as you would if you didn't take the time to do that. And that's me challenging you to be nice to your FedEx driver. Give him a little gift card, a little $5 Starbucks card this year. Be nice to your mailman, your leasing office, whomever that you're coming across on a day-to-day basis. Take a little time to ask them how they're doing. Like, it's a lost art that we need to really bring back, this level of concern for one another, and being active in our own communities. And I think we all could do a better job. Now, I'm not saying you got to go out and, give away turkeys at Thanksgiving, but, if you see your neighbor left their trash out, you can pull it in for them. If you see you get a lot of packages from Amazon, go ahead and leave a little $5 Starbucks card in there. Like, you never know who's looking out for you, and it's okay to take the first step. So that's my challenge. That's my November challenge to you all, and I'm gonna do it too. So let's see if we can make a little change in our station. In addition to community as a theme, I saw the theme of redemption. I saw a theme of redemption, and I say that loosely because it kind of just came to my mind. but especially in Nate, I saw him. He had secrets, and he had things in his heart that he was kind of afraid of. But he had this. He didn't mind starting over, right? We see him start over and redeem. He's working hard to rebuild the person that he wants to be. And I think that's great. We also see a lot of immigrants moving to the U.S., seeking a better life, seeking a new start, a fresh start. That's Shona, that's Moshe, that's Addie. Everybody is looking for a way to survive in this new land, in this new country, in this new place. And it's just a hodgepodge of complete strangers, but yet they're all united in this desire to make a life for themselves, and this desire to create something that they can be proud of. I see a lot of pride in each of in each person, right? I see a lot of ethical codes and morality in these people. They're not looking for the shortcut. They're not looking for a handout, especially Nate. If you've noticed, when Isaac tries to give Nate like a handful of money, he's like, you can keep your money. I don't want your money. I can't be bought. And I think that's many of the people in Chicken Hill, where they have more integrity about themselves, excluding Fatty. Fatty was crazy about the money. I don't know what drove that. Maybe just him like owning a speakeasy, but many of them only saw money as a tool to move the pieces along, but none of them were overly concerned with that. They were very concerned about being good people, being people in deserving of redemption, people that are deserving of heaven, deserving of earth, deserving of quality of life, you know? And I think that was a theme that we see in many of the characters. We see how love kind of redeems and kind of creates strength in these characters. Nate is consistently saying how Addie has made him a better man. We see Moshe find a lot of his strength from Shona's ethical code. She's so strong, and you know, where Moshe may have been meek or not took that route, we see him find strength. We see him find leadership skills through his wife that that build me up. So what you see here is that though we see this very strong idea of men being in leadership roles and running things and standing the ground, we see how the women are in the background. I can't even say the background really, because I feel like they stand like next to their husbands, but we see how they breathe life into them and give them the strength to make the hard decisions, especially in the end. I felt so sad because Nate never goes back to Addie, and he always says this is the love of his life. But I think that his relationship with Addie is what allows him to be strong enough to then move forward in finding a relation, in, you know, saving Dodo and moving Dodo to a new place, to start a new life, to be a new person, and in the end get his own redemption. And so these are just some of the things I see. Tell me some of the things I don't want to keep rattling on. Tell me some of the things you see, and let's talk about it in the comment section below. And I might come back next week to do a reading discussion over it. I have some reading discussion questions about it. So I might come back and we can discuss further about the Heaven and Earth grocery store. Currently, I am reading the Spook Who Sat by the Door. Sorry if I keep saying the name all wonky, but I'm reading that. I'm reading The Psychology of Money. And I think I'm reading How to Talk to Anyone. So if any of those books tickle your fancy and you want to know a little bit more about what I'm learning in those books, drop that in the comment section below. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And thank you for joining me in this little corner of the internet. You know I love when you're here. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next week.